this video, I'm going to show you guys 5 steps you need to take in order to guarantee your success as a yield farmer. All right. So in this video, I'm going to cover what exactly yield farming is, what concentrated liquidity is, the 5 steps you need to take in order to guarantee, and yes, I say guarantee your success as a yield farmer. And at the end, I'm going to give a case study of one of my pools and show you how I profited and how I'm now playing with house money and how you can do the exact same thing with multiple pools. It doesn't even have to be the pool that I'm showing. All right. So before I get started, I do have to say none of this is financial advice. These are my own perspectives, research, and opinions, and should be treated as such. So without further ado, let's not waste any time and jump straight into the content. So to start, what is yield farming? Okay, so yield farming is just a way to get a yield. It's 4 main ways to get a yield in DeFi. You can stake on a blockchain's validated network like the ETH 2.0 staking contract. You can stake your funds on borrowing and lending platforms such as Aave, such as Compound, and get a yield for allowing the platform to loan out your funds. You can stake your funds on insurance platforms such as Nexus Mutual and get paid to facilitate insurance premiums. But the way we're going to be talking about in this video, and the way we always talk about on this channel, is to stake your funds in the form of pairs. That means 2 tokens, whether a stable coin or 2 altcoins or however you want to mix it up, on decentralized exchanges such as Uniswap, such as Velodrome, such as Trader Joe, to get paid whenever someone swaps back and forth within that pair. So for example, ETH USDC. If you haven't been on Uniswap, go on Uniswap and try to buy some ETH with USDC or USDC for ETH. If you're in that pool, whenever someone's swapping back and forth in that pool, you're getting paid passive income, aka trading fees. And these are reliable fees because people are always trading on DEXs, and I think that trend will actually continue. Going a step further, let's break down what concentrated liquidity is. So concentrated liquidity allows you to concentrate your liquidity within a certain price range. So going back to the ETH USDC example, instead of just staking your funds in the ETH USDC pool, you can say, hey, only use my liquidity when the price of ETH is between whatever you specify. So if you think ETH is going to trade between 2,000 and 7,000, you can make that your range. And anytime price is within $2,000 to $7,000, you're literally getting paid passive income in regards to how much your liquidity makes up in the pool. So if the pool has $100,000 in it and you have 10K in there, you make 10% of the trading fees. And the amount you make is dependent on something called the volume to TVL ratio. Okay, so a lot of people are scared of yield farming because they worry about impermanent loss. And the best way to think about impermanent loss is when you're yield farming, it's almost like a limit order for the underperforming asset. So going back to the ETH USDC example, $2,000 to $7,000. Let's say you get into that range when it's at 3,500, like near the middle. As price goes up, remember, it's a limit order for the underperforming asset. If price goes out of range or the more it goes up to the top of the range, the underperforming asset is going to be USDC. So the more it goes up, the more you're going to be accumulating USDC. The more it goes down, the more you're going to be accumulating ETH. And if it goes all the way out of range, let's say to the top, you're going to be in 100% USDC, not including your fees. And that depends on how long you've been in the pool. And if it goes out of range to the downside, you're going to be in 100% ETH minus your fees. Now, I've made videos on how you can use impermanent loss to your advantage. Right? It's not all good. It's not all bad. It's just how you understand it and how you set your strategy up to take advantage of it. But we live in a 3-dimensional world where nothing is one-sided. Have you ever seen a one-sided piece of bread? Have you ever seen a one-sided coin? Like everything has at least 2 sides, usually more. It's the same thing with impermanent loss. So if you hear someone say, oh, yield farming doesn't work because impermanent loss cuts into your profits, that just means they're misinformed. So that's the soup and salad. Let's dive into the meat and potatoes. We're going to be talking about the 5 principles you need to deploy in order to be a successful yield farmer. So how do you define success as a yield farmer? One simple word, that is profiting. You have to profit. If you're not profiting, what's the whole point? We're doing this to make money. So how do you guarantee that you profit as a yield farmer? Let's go through the first principle. So the first principle is you never, ever, 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 like Chris Tucker said, you never provide liquidity for 2 assets that you wouldn't hodl on their own. And this is because of impermanent loss, right? You don't just go and try to find the highest yield just because you see some shitcoin pair paying, 3,000%. Chances are that won't last. It's probably just people aping in real fast. But remember, I said it's a limit order for the underperforming asset. So let's say you get into shitcoin A and ETH and that shitcoin goes to 0. If it goes out of your range, you're going to be in 100% shitcoin. And if that shit coin goes to zero, you not only did you just lost all of your ETH and you're just holding that shit coin that has no value. It happens all the time. Don't just chase the yield. And this brings me to principle number 2. You want to find the token that you want to accumulate, and then you want to go and find the top pool to do so. Now, sometimes it's not smart to yield farm for a token that you're bullish on because the volume to TVL ratio could be shitty, which means it doesn't pay a lot. So it could be wise to just find another pair of tokens that you wouldn't mind holding on their own and use the rewards to purchase that asset once you claim them. Let me give you an example. Well, let's say I want to accumulate Pendle Finance, all right? So the old school way, we used to go on Pendle Finance, on CoinGecko, we scroll down here, we find where most of the trading is happening. So you see Pendle wrapped ETH is the top pair, it's number 27 for a DEX, not a centralized exchange, on Arbitrum. That's the old school way, like I said. However, if you haven't watched any of my past videos, we have a proprietary yield hunter tool that shows you the top liquidity pools in all of DeFi in real time. You can come on here, you can go through the pools, see which ones are paying pretty good. You can search by chain, you can search by decentralized exchange, you can search by token, minimum and maximum TVL. So instead of going to CoinGecko, I would come here, I would click Pendle, and it shows me all of the top decentralized exchanges and chains where I can get a yield on Pendle. So it says here, the top one is Pendle ETH on the Ethereum network. I can actually click this and I can get data going back 6 months, right? You got the dates, you have the APR, liquidity, volume, fees, volume to TVL ratio, like I said, going back 6 months. And I can even back test this. So I can come here, I can type in the range, like the specific ranges. I can hit narrow range, wide range. I can run the back test. It gives me the time and range, generated fees, and the estimated APR. But like I said, sometimes it doesn't make sense to provide liquidity for a token you're bullish on. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm really bullish on Centrifuge. So let's say I want to get a yield on Centrifuge. I type in wrapped CFG, that's the ticker. I go ahead and hit enter, and you can see here that the APR is only 3.69 and the volume to TVL ratio is only 0.03. So that's pretty shitty. It's not worth it. 3%, I can get more than that holding a treasury bond for way less risk. So what I would do instead is, if I want to provide liquidity for Pendle and I thought it was worth it, I would just take those Pendle ETH rewards and I would use some of those rewards to purchase Centrifuge instead of actually providing liquidity for it and make more money. Now guys, if you like this kind of content, you want to get access to a world-class DeFi community of advanced farmers, advanced coaches who do this for a living. We're in here iron sharpening iron all day long, answering questions. You get access to our group calls that we do bi-weekly. We record all the calls so members get access to them if they can't make it, where people just hop on, ask questions. We help them set up their portfolio to meet their goals. We let people post their wallets and we give them feedback on their farms. We post our concentrated liquidity trades in here. That's why you see all these comments. We're always updating when we're changing our range, when we're balancing, etc., etc. And as well as our buy and sell calls in any alpha or alpha that we discover. As you can see, we're doing another yield farming mastermind call in 3 days. Last but not least, you get access to our 13-hour yield farming course. And inside of this course, we don't just cover yield farming. We cover the mindset you need to have, chart mastery, so you know how to set your ranges, read a candlestick chart, determine trends, etc., etc. Web3 and DeFi fundamentals, security protocols so you don't get hacked, intro and advanced yield farming, where we cover literally all the strategies that market makers have been successfully and profitably deploying for the past 3 centuries, making passive income. So if you like this kind of stuff and you want to click the link in the description, book a free strategy session. You'll talk to me or one of our coaches. We'll ultimately determine if this program is a good fit for you. If it's not, we're happy to answer any questions you have as it pertains to yield farming, crypto investing, or whatever. And we're happy to point you in the right direction. And at the very least, make a friend. I digress. So that was principle 2. Now let's go on to principle number 3, which is, and this one's a bit of a wild card because there's multiple ways to skin a cat here. But for me, I never compound my rewards. Instead, I like to take the rewards and use them to purchase altcoins that I'm bullish on, or if the market's high, I'll convert it into cash and use it as dry powder to deploy once the market dips. So if you look at how market makers run their portfolio, and this isn't something that's super public, you have to really do some digging, which we have. They don't have all their portfolio and market making, right? Which is yield farming. Market making is what they call it in TradFi. Yield farming is what they call it in crypto. They have a certain portion of their portfolio that they use for market making. They have a certain portfolio in cash. They have a certain portfolio in actual assets, and they rebalance on a consistent basis, be it quarterly, be it monthly, be it weekly. You know, everyone's different, but the most important thing is you want to pick a rebalancing schedule and you want to stay consistent with it. And the reason why you want to do this is because if I just keep compounding, yeah, I'll make more money. The yield farming portion of my portfolio will increase, but I expect all my positions to go out of range eventually, right? Unless I'm doing like a stablecoin pair, but even then I'll expect to go out of range because I would go really, really tight. If I'm doing a volatile pair or a stable volatile pair, it's eventually going to go out of range. And once it does, I won't get to experience the price appreciation unless they literally move in tandem by the same percentages, which 9 times out of 10 or 9.999 times out of 10 won't happen, right? Versus if I take my rewards and I claim them and I use them to buy something, now once that thing goes up, I actually get to experience the price appreciation. And once that thing goes up, and now let's say, like me personally, I yield farm with 25% of my portfolio, 20 to 25%, depending on market conditions. If I'm constantly claiming my rewards and something that I bought in my portfolio goes up and it's time for me to rebalance, the yield farming portion of my portfolio may represent 10 to 15%. So now I get to add that back into the pool and my yield farming position is larger. Or vice versa, is if the two projects that I'm holding go up in tandem, I'll take some out of the yield farming pool and be able to, you know, buy some altcoins. But this way you guarantee profits. Like if you look at the big funds, a lot of people talk about holding 10% of their portfolio in gold. And what that allows you to do is once you go to rebalance, like let's say, you know, gold goes up by a factor of 100%, right? And instead of it being 10% in gold, now your portfolio represents 15 to 20% in gold. What that's going to do is allow you to sell gold for a profit, right? So you're guaranteeing you're locking in profits. And then if gold drops, let's say gold drops 20, 30%, well now once you go to rebalance, you have to bring that gold position back up to 10% of your portfolio. Now you just bought gold for cheap. So either way you win when you rebalance and you lock in profits. So that's really, really important. Which brings me to my next principle, principle number 4. You want to use a certain percentage of your portfolio for yield farming and rebalance on a consistent basis. I just realized I summed up principle 3 and 4. So I literally already talked about it. So now let's go on to principle number 5. And this one is really important. It might be the most important one. And that is think long term. Like you don't want to just jump out when you experience impermanent loss because like I said, you can use it to your advantage. Right? So if you're providing liquidity for 2 assets you wouldn't mind holding on their own, once you experience impermanent loss, you should be happy because that allows you the opportunity to buy it cheaper, right? Here's another important thing. Guys, it's all about time in the market versus trying to time the market, right? And I know it seems like I'm getting off track, but bear with me here. So this chart shows the difference in your portfolio performance if you missed out on the 10 best days of the S&P 500 from January 2003 to December 2022, and you invested $10,000. So if you kept your money in all the days, your 10K would be worth $64,844. If you kept it in for 7 of the best days, 7 out of 10, your 10K would be worth $30K. Even that right there, 3 days makes a difference of 100%, give or take. So that's missing the best 10 days. If you missed the best 20 days, you only made $7,826, right? So your 10K will be worth 17K and some change. You missed the 30 best days, it's only worth 11,000. And if you miss the 40 best days, you actually start to lose money. 50 days, you lose money. 60 days, you start to lose money, right? So why did I just show you that chart? Well, it's the same thing with yield farming and providing liquidity. There are going to be days that are better than others. So you want to be in the market for the best days. Now, there's no chart on the internet for this, so if someone wants to make it, feel free. But if you miss the 10 best days in yield farming or the 20 best days or the 30 best days, it really starts to cut into your performance. Like there are certain days where the volume to TVL ratios are so high that you're making 10, 20% in one day. And once you go to claim your rewards and you use them to buy other assets, it makes a huge difference in what you're buying because if that goes up, you know, 5x, 10x, it's a big difference in your portfolio, and that compounds. So time in the market versus trying to time the market. You really want to think long term, because eventually you'll be yield farming long enough to the point where you're playing with house money and it's literally all profits, right? You have people who want to yield farm to pay bills, and that's cool if you have a lot of money, and I made a video talking about all that. But no matter what, if you're going to do that, you want to have a certain portion that you're growing long term, and you want to have another portion that you're using to pay your bills, assuming you have enough, and you want to do like a PAM account structure. So now that we've gotten to the end of the video, for those of you who stuck around, let me show you a case study for one of my pools and how I profited and how you can do the same. So guys, we're going to be looking at my Maple ETH position. I feel like at this point I should have Maple ETH tattooed on my forehead. So this is my range, right? And if you see here, it says I've been in this pool for 185 days. So if we go back here, I got in around here, right? So it went up, went out of range a little bit, went back down. I got to buy a lot of Maple for cheap, and now my Maple bag is doing really, really nice. And this is like a golden scenario, guys. You got to keep in mind, this is the weekly, and this is like a dream scenario. It's not always going to be like this, and I have rules for when I'm going to rebalance. It's another principle I should put on here. You want to have rules. You want to have a plan to get out before you get in, a plan to rebalance, so you don't have to think on the fly and think with your emotions. You want to be like a robot when it comes to this thing. But if we go here, like when I first got into this pool, I put in 12K, right? And you can see right now, it says the total fees that I made was $12,988 at current prices. When price went up here and I took those profits and I got to buy something else or, sell, it's not taking that into account. It's only doing it for current price. ETH and Maple has dipped since then. I actually ROI'd in this pool in my first 6 weeks, and I've been in this 180 days. So I don't know how many weeks that is, but it's a lot. I've been playing with house money for a while in this pool, right? And a lot of our members are eating really well from this pool as well. So if you look here, it gives you all the data. I have $175 in unclaimed fees right now. And I made a video on how to turn 15K into $1 million investing into maplefinance. So as I keep claiming my rewards, keep using them to buy Maple, keep using them to buy ETH, instead of 15K, if I'm able to accumulate another 15K, I'll be able to turn 30K into $2 million if that happens. And then when I go to rebalance, I'll have even more to yield farm with, right? So if you literally set an intelligent range, which we show you how to do in our course and in our community, and you let time do the heavy lifting, like guys, I literally got in this 180 days and I haven't had to do jack shit. I haven't touched this thing. All I do is come in and claim my rewards. This thing is just prints me money, and that's just one of my pools. My Wrap ETH Goldfinch pool is doing the same thing. I'm getting 129% APR right now, 168 on this one. But like I said, there are certain days where you're getting 500 to 2,000% APR, right? But you want to be in the market for those best days. Like I didn't get scared and jump out when the market was down here. Instead, I use it to buy more Maple, and now I'm enjoying the fruits of that little bit of labor, because all I had to do is click a few buttons. So guys, with that, I'd like to conclude this video. Like I said, if you got value and you want to learn how to do this like a professional, book a free strategy session. But other than that, consider subscribing, share with a friend. Trying to reach 3,000 subs. I would appreciate that if you guys want to help me support the channel. Let me know what strategies you want to cover next, what concepts you want me to cover next. Let me know what questions you have. It really helps the algorithm, and it makes me feel like I'm not talking to a wall. But with that, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love every single one of you watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and trade safe.